You're most welcome back to Matchbook's weekly U.S Golf podcast, 1 week out from the PGA Championship. And we're going to talk all things Byron Nelson Championship today. And in terms of matchup bets, by two gentlemen that, weirdly enough, guys, you actually had a losing week last week. It's a very rare event. But after the losses, generally comes the wins. And if you're joining us now live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, please let us know if you have any questions on your matchups this week. We will get to them later on the show. Delighted to be joined at the bottom of the screen in a remote location, director of content with BetSports, Mr. Andy Molitor. Looking good, sir. Top of the screen, Mr. James Mazzola. He is the co-host of the For Profit podcast. JD, Byron Nelson, new course this week. What do we got? This course is a qualifying school course. TPC Craig Ranch, wherever the hell that is. It is in Texas, I know that. But outside of that, does anyone actually know anything about this course? Tell me you do, though.
This is the kind of thing where you just kind of put your ear to the ground in the Twitter world and try to figure out what the heck's going on here. TPC courses typically play very easy. They're typically birdie fest. We see them, littered throughout the schedule outside of Sawgrass, obviously, which can play rather difficult. But it seems like we're going to get an easy course here. They have had some Corn Ferry Tour events in the past that got kind of basically they destroyed the course. They've had a qualifying school here, and the course got destroyed, and they didn't even have this caliber of golfer here, right? So a lot of the guys are using this as their warm-up for the PGA, which is next week. This does remind me of a European Tour event, though, where you have an extremely top-heavy field, and then it drops off really quickly. We're going to be going over some of those matchups, and there are going to be some guys that we probably need to Google where they're from and what the heck their real pronunciation is. So, but it is a good tournament. We do have a lot of the top guys here. Bryson, Rahm, obviously. DJ WD kind of threw the market for a loop yesterday. But all in all, we're going to have low scoring, and it's a bomber's paradise from what I understand.
Hell yeah, totally sure. Very quickly, are you actually going to go back and look at even the likes of Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, who came through this in like 2011, 2012. Are you going to put any bit of stock in that, given the fact it's nearly 10 years ago with a lot of these guys?
Not really. I mean, it's so long ago, and they've more than likely done some changes to this golf course. But, like I said, when you get a TPC course, you're going to normally have pretty flat puttable greens, and it's going to be relatively easy. So you're going to need guys who want to go low. But, when we're looking at there is a Texas angle, right? There are some guys who play well in Texas. So you can kind of go with that if you want. But, that's something that, maybe someone will consider here. But generally speaking, it's going to be a birdie's paradise. We're going to see probably 22, 23 under unless, the Texas wind comes in one of the afternoons. But generally, that's what I'm anticipating anyways.
Yeah, Bryson DeChambeau, Texas native, leads the outright betting. We've got 111 matchups at matchbook.com. And if you do want to get them, just 111. Actually, no, apologies, 110. Got that wrong. It was 111 last week. So we've lost one somewhere. But if you have not got a Matchbook account, you do want to get involved in some of these matchups. But to be honest, especially on this side of the Atlantic, you can't really get them anywhere else. You can sign up today and you get 0% commission upon signing up using the Insights bonus code. Use the word insights at INSIGHTS, just in case you can't understand my Southern Irish drawl. Insights is the bonus code. Use that and you'll get 0% commission. They're pretty tight margins as it is. They're even tighter with that lack of commission. JD, let's start with you. This is the one marquee matchup we have this week, folks. We've got 8 in total. The next 7, I'll be honest, like JD said, you're going to have to Google a few of these guys, but the one top of the betting market, Bryson DeChambeau to beat Jon Rahm. Bryson is the outright favorite. This happens a lot of times that he's the outright favorite and he's the dog in the matchups. We'll go through it again. He's 2.09 plus 109. What's the case here for the Texas native?
I'd like to throw a couple of these primetime matchups in there as well. They're fun. We typically are going to be able to watch these two on Sunday. We obviously weren't able to watch Rahm last week during the weekend, but that's actually not playing much into this. I just make this a pick 'em, and I have these guys as true equals, especially on this course. If you want to play the hometown angle, Bryson's from California but went to school in Dallas. This course is outside of Dallas. I would imagine he has at least some familiarity with this golf course. And we're talking about bombing and gouging. There's no better bomber and gouger than Bryson DeChambeau, especially when he gets that putter going absolutely the best putter in the elite class of golfers, especially the ones who we see here. Has struggled in his approach numbers, but ultimately, when we consider how that number is created, he is so much closer to the green, to the flag, that his approaches, even if he loses a couple, would be basically equal to guys 30, 40 yards behind them. So I don't take a lot of stock into that. And if he does gain on approach, he's going to win this thing maybe by 10 strokes. I mean, he totally is capable of that. Rahm a little shaky last week, coming off a good Masters finish, but a lot of distractions, a new child, and typically when that happens to golfers, we do see a slight decline in their play. I understand it's really hard raising children and it's very tiring. I don't know that. Andy can speak on that, but I do make this just an even, basically a pick 'em. I'm going to go ahead and take the dog here.
Yeah, we played the marriage card a couple of weeks ago with Ricky Fowler. Let's play the kids card in this one. And yeah, it's tough going. Newborn kids. It's just tough.
I can't imagine trying to golf. I don't even get to golf my local anymore. Imagine trying to do this internationally.
There you go. Andy, kick us off in this one. Next one, we want to look at Talor Gooch to beat Carlos Ortiz. He's a slight dog here at 1.94 minus 106. Gooch has made the cut in 5 of his last 6 events. Ortiz the opposite. He's missed 4 of his last 5. So I presume there's a bit of recency bias in this pick, or am I way off of this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. And especially after last week, it wasn't the greatest week. And I kind of just went real simple with the handicap here. I just went straight off my rankings, straight off the numbers, and then went off a few other things that I try to base as kind of my baseline for a lot of these, especially when you run with the course. Like JD said, I can't go look at the 2012 Corn Ferry Championship and try to glean something from. I mean, imagine how different you were 9 years ago. I mean, how a man played there a decade ago doesn't bear anything to this. So a lot of what you just said, and I mean, a big gap between these two men and their approach numbers over the last however many tournaments you really want to use, basically all of them. I figured when I go look at these, when I scrape these, when you send these to me, I scrape them without prices. I've said this before, and then I look at them, and this was one where I was like, oh man, I'm going to come in and this is going to be like 1.6, and I'm not going to get to play it. And I was surprised it was this close. So I was happy with this number. And like you said, Ortiz has gone 3 missed cuts and like a 65 in his last 4 tournaments. And, Gooch has shown he can get hot with his irons, and even took a top 5 at the Players. And I don't go deep into putting. I never really like to, but I do see a little more maybe of some consistency when you do get to these bent grass. Like, who can just roll it on easy greens? Because there's some guys where they get to these easy bent grass greens and they still aren't any good. So I went over a big sample size of like the last 100 rounds on bent grass. And Gooch is clearly better there too. So at this price, I like Gooch over Ortiz quite a bit.
Just to clarify that, so it was your rough tissue price about 1.6 towards the 1.7 mark, 100% line, yeah? That was what you were coming up with for your numbers.
Oh, no, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I assume this should be like 1.8. I was saying sometimes I go check, and it's like I'm hoping it's near evens, and you see it's a 1.6. So no, right. I can't play it then.
Right. Okay. JD, back to you. One-time Masters champion Charl Schwartzel to beat Harris English 2.2 or plus 120. He's in pretty good form of late. 14th at Wells Fargo, 21st at Valspar, and obviously 26th at Masters. He generally goes well around Augusta, but he's picking up some good form of late.
Yeah, he's playing a lot too. That's what I like. I mean, this guy has, he played, he's twice he's basically back to back. Playing, obviously getting ready for Augusta as a defending champion. Played the Valero, played the Honda, has made all 5 cuts there, and it's showing some wonderful approach numbers. 6.8 at the Wells Fargo. 4.6 at the Valspar. He's top 40 in driving distance amongst this field. And again, that's going to be an important stat this week. He did battle some health issues in his, after, over the last 5-6 years. Seems like he's fully healthy. And, when he's fully healthy, he has one of the most beautiful swings on tour. There's no reason why he shouldn't be, those elite, ball striking numbers that you can just look at it and know why, right? And English is a guy who I just, we won the tournament champions, and he's been a full fade all year. The consistency just isn't there. So you get, a 43rd last week, but the only reason that is because he gained 4.2 putting, lost approach, lost off the tee. Same thing at the RBC Heritage while missing the cut. put it together a good Masters tournament and a decent Arnold Palmer, but a miscut the Waste, a miscut the Farmers, and dead last at the WGC Mexico. There's just no consistency from his game since he won that tournament of champions earlier this year. I like what we see from Schwartzel right now. And, a guy who can go win a golf tournament, by the way. I mean, he has multiple worldwide wins, including a green jacket. So Schwartzel in form, especially, with that beautiful golf swing on the course, that you're going to need some birdies, and he could certainly get hot with the irons and be able to, have those birdie chances that we're looking for. I like Schwartzel here, especially. I mean, the dog price is wild to me. This is a pick 'em at worst. I actually make Schwartzel a slight favorite.
All right, he's 2.2 currently at Matchbook.com. Andy, back to you. Rare European selection here, Lee Westwood to beat Peter Uihlein. I don't know how to pronounce that right, but it's a Swedish name, but he's from Massachusetts. Can you guys remember when Westwood was second at the Players and second before that at the Arnold Palmer? That seems like a year ago.
Yeah,
he's done nothing since, more or less. Well, he hasn't played that much, to be fair, but he's
and that's I don't hate that because again, not being ageist, but he's not the youngest man, and he played a lot, and not only a lot, but a lot of high pressure golf. When you're not missing cuts and you're right there at the end, it's not only a lot of golf; it's a lot of high pressure golf. He even said it. He was tired. He had a very disappointing Masters performance. He missed the cut there. I know he was very much looking forward to that. And then even after that, he went and played one more. Harbor Town made the cut there, but then went like 73, 74, 75, something like that. Didn't have a great weekend there. It was kind of a disappointing 1-2. And I don't hate the break for him because I think not only mentally, but physically, he is a little up there. And I'm fine with that. I like Lee Westwood. I think a lot of the numbers why I like him were because of his hot streak there. He is playing well. He was playing well, and I think maybe that was tempered a little by playing too much damn golf. Refreshed back. And Uihlein, again, you said it. We're going to stick with that pronunciation. I have no idea. I've never played against this guy before. He top fived here, but again, this was at it was at Trinity.
Different course,
Again, we're running into the same joke I tried to pull last week on Trinity. Completely different course. Not Craig's right. So this has been at a few different courses. Trinity was I hated Trinity, so I'm actually glad to see the change here. Bad course, but Uihlein, I'm looking at his consistency. He's making a lot of cuts, but he's not doing anything with it. His average finishing position over the last 5 is like the mid 40s. Like he's just skimming through on the cut and then not really moving up. Whereas I think Westwood's ceiling is a lot higher. And he's a guy who's near the bottom of the field and is off the tee numbers. This isn't a long course, but it does help to me. It's going to help a little if you can bomb it a touch here. This is going to be less of a challenge off the tee than last week due to it's a 72 and it's only about 7,400 yards. But his off the tee numbers were a little weird with the context because it's not like he's a short driver. He just has bad off the tee numbers, which is probably speaks to some of his consistency. He's getting himself in trouble with his driver. And, a symptom of bad off the tee, bad off tee to green numbers is bad greens and regulation numbers. And that's something I weighted heavily this week because guys who have won this, hitting a ton of greens here, getting those easy birdie putts, getting those easy eagle putts on the 5s. So I do like Westwood here at this price to bounce back off a rest and take care of this Massachusetts Swede.
Yeah, absolutely. Massachusetts Swede. Yeah. I'm not going to play the violin for the guy here, but Uihlein was looking at his earning numbers this morning. It's only May, obviously, but he's only made about like 60K this year. So I don't know. It's probably again, violin. Yeah. Right, JD, back to you. Luke List to beat Charles Howell, 1.93 minus 108. 6th at the Wells Fargo for List. That was a good one. But you know what? He had a very slow start to the year. Some really patchy form, but he seems to be after picking it up in recent weeks.
You're right, and he has absolutely had patchy finishes because I'll be honest, Luke List is one of the worst putters on tour. So this is going to be one of those matchups where you're not going to want to watch the stat sheet. You're not going to track this on your phone because he will miss a couple of 4-footers and drive you nuts. Hopefully, it's not to make the cut, but what we do have from Luke List is one of the elite drivers in the field. I think he's 8th. Within the field and driving distance, he will absolutely gain strokes off the tee, and he should absolutely destroy these par 5s. That's a huge difference when you have a 6-7 iron, even an 8 iron into a par 5. When Charles Howell, he's 70th in driving distance, he's going to be hitting long irons in these par 5s. Not the guaranteed birdies that we should see from List. And obviously, do like that finish that he had last week. Howell's just a guy that I'm just continually fading. If he's gonna putt as well as he is, I guess I'll just lose, but he's going to lose strokes on approach this week. He's decent off the tee, but only because in strokes getting off the tee numbers, only because he's really accurate. He's not very long. So, when you have a course where accuracy doesn't really matter, you're probably going to lose strokes off the tee in this situation. He has gained strokes putting 5.1 at the Heritage, 1.6 at the Valspar, but we have plenty of a sample of him being an absolutely terrible putter. So I just don't see him being able to, sustain these kind of finishes with the way that he's striking it. And so when I get a guy like List, who's going to absolutely, if we're calling this a bomber's paradise, he's one of the best bombers out there. So I like List. I like his off the tee game, and I'm going to get some regression out of Howell one of these days with that putter, and he's not going to make the cut. That's I'm waiting for that right now.
Could be coming. Andy, back to you. Roger Sloan to beat Robert Streb, 1.87 minus 115. You took on Streb last week. He still missed the cut. We predicted he would, but it was a Will Jordan, and he was +4. There's a one shot between them, something like that.
Yeah,
it's not. Every time I see the name Roger Sloan, by the way, I just think of Roger Stone and just the whole Trump thing and stuff. But seven missed cuts from 13 events this year for Roger Stone, but that's not turning off because you're taking on Streb once again.
Yeah, these are my last two matchups aren't up at the top of the board. They're not marquee players.
This could be over by Friday. This could be over by Friday.
This might be over by Thursday. If one of these men plays like they're capable of playing, I do like Sloan a bit better at this price. Yeah, like you said, Strabby's missed 7 of his past 9 cuts, and is really. I'm looking at some of these performances that are buoying a guy who, these guys are both near the bottom. But Streb is being buoyed by one weird performance at the Honda where he gained like almost 6 strokes around the green, which means you end up with some chip-ins, you end up with a sandy that ends real close, or you end up chipping in out of a bunker. Like somebody who has a performance and the main thing is around the green, it's almost as bad as somebody. I'd rather see a guy get hot with the putter, I guess. Like that's something that I see happening more often than something like this. So. If you take that one out, he is just nearly dead last in a lot of stuff for me. And for Sloan, I mean, it's probably almost a lot of people's best putting surface, but it certainly is. I did look at that a little too with some of these golfers this week when they get back to bent grass. You can't just say, everyone's going to putt better. Some people do putt. They have a bigger delta between their other surfaces and their bent grass. So I like Sloan's delta there. I think he can putt a lot better here. And again, the greens and regulation thing just keeps popping in these. In the last 24, Mr. Sloan's 9th in this field, where Streb's 143rd. And even in the last 50, they're 19th and 120th. So huge disparity in being able to find the greens. And again, if you can find these greens in 2 on the 4s, if you can find them on your 3rd shot or maybe even your 2nd on the 5s, you're going to score, you're going to make this cut, and the other guy isn't. So I'm happy to take this at about minus 115.
Well, what price either of these guys to miss the cut? If you had it's got to be like minus 600, either of them, a nice little matchup at minus 600.
Yeah, I don't think you can parlay it to get the evens.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Really don't think so. JD, on to you. Joseph Bramlett to beat Aaron Baddeley at 1.85. I won't lie, Bramlett especially. I like that you guys throw these ones at me because I didn't hear of this guy. But he's born in Stanford and he went to Stanford, so he must be an exceptionally smart guy. But he's going to win this matchup. That's all we want in this one.
Yeah, the theme of the day, Bramlett absolutely moves it off the tee. He's 10th in driving distance within this field, and Baddeley is absolutely bunts it. And he basically will rely upon his short game when it comes to either chipping in or making putts to be able to make a cut. His ball striking is very poor. So, again, these are two guys that I really don't expect to make the cut. We're kind of, we're diving a little bit deep here, obviously, but when we look at Baddeley, he's only getting into these kind of golf tournaments where, we're trying to grab the, 140th guy, coming up in the rankings, and they're getting those exemptions, obviously. So when we look at Bramlett, he has a lot of talent. I mean, when you're as good as he was as an amateur, and you are one of the longest hitters on tour, putting is an issue. But again, a TPC golf course which has relatively flat greens. And, Andy's mentioned the bent grass greens, which everybody really likes to putt. They just roll the truest of all the 3/4 most common greens. I just like Bramlett's ability to get the ball off the tee, and he's also one of the top 20 guys here in greens gained, which I love. That means he's pounding greens, he's pounding fairways, and he's long. Bradley's going to have to get it done around the short game because he's going to have a hard time reaching these par 5s. And and off the tee, he's just really short. So I'm liking Bramlett at that. Just a slight favorite here. And again, we're not looking at you guys who are going to make the cuts. We're down at the bottom here, but again, we can probably get this one cashed on Friday.
Yeah, speaking of Friday, I'm just thinking back to last week. You guys had 8 bets last week, and 2 of them were pushes before the event with 2 withdrawals. And I think like four of them were over by Friday, which is kind of a good thing because you
knew what was going on.
You absolutely knew. And I predict this last matchup, Andy Molitor, is possibly going to be over by Friday as well. Sam Ryder to beat Vaughn Talor, 1.78 -128. Vaughn Taylor's missed 5 cuts of his last 7 events.
Yeah, both of these men. Again, this is not too dissimilar from my last one. These are not the guys you're going to see near the top of the leaderboard. If you do, hopefully it's Sam Ryder, I guess. But a little bigger of a price than I wanted to play. But again, I found a huge disparity in a few different things. And looking at the thing, the form or what have you, like the Vaughn Talor stuff, you're seeing. When did he do good? Oh, he did well when you gained 9 strokes on the putting green. Like you've had some really rough tournaments outside of when all of a sudden you get. I was Valspar and the Valero. I think those are both Bermuda. You have some fluky performances putting like that. In fact, at Valero, he gained almost 9 strokes on the green and still finished 44th. Like he lost so many tee to green. Like he was making up a lot of strokes on the putting green and still didn't place all that well. And like you said, Sam Ryder's missed a few cuts too here, but he does have a couple top 10s in the last few tournaments. He's missed his last 3, but outside of, when I'm seeing him playing well, it's a better overall game. He's not doing it with some fluky performances like this. And, to JD's point about the last few guys too, the driving distance argument is just like Vaughn Talor is so far down the list in driving distance. Like he's like 144th out of what do we have? 151 total, James?
Yeah,
he's almost dead last in that. So he's not gaining a lot of greens as well, which is again just a symptom of you have short drives, you have long irons into the greens. If you can't catch the greens, you're gonna have a bad day. So unless he can do some magic with the putter again, I think this one probably is over on Friday, where they again both met the cut.
He's probably keeping his fingers crossed for some Texas tailwind because I don't know if he's going to gain up 144 and that. One question in that I like the look of here from Jeff Boyardee, a regular viewer. I think it's a lot of your content, guys. Sergio -110 over Siwoo and Peters -125 over Snedeker were my favorite matchups this week. Thoughts, JD? You want to jump in there first?
Yeah, I actually highlighted Siwoo. To be honest, I want some Siwoo exposure, so I leaned a little bit there. There was almost a pick, so I might even bet Siwoo on that. Just Sergio, and I obviously have to pull up the numbers, but they both been really solid. I make Siwoo just a little bit more of a favorite, probably like -115. So it's borderline for me. And Sned's on this golf course should not play well. It just does not fit him at all. Peters is a huge bomber and has been playing super well. That's actually probably a bet that I will make now that I think about it. What do you like Peters this week, right, Andy?
Yeah, I like that. Peters bet a lot, especially at that price. I'm a Sned's fader, even when it hurts me. Like he's hurt me quite a few times. But yeah, Peters' games matches up well, and I think some of these guys do get to stay a little under the radar if they're a European player like that. He's he was on. My buddy's got an American Ryder Cup hat with his signature on it, which is the silliest thing. But like we like him. We like his game.
Yeah, give a few points to the Americans the last Ryder Cup as well. Fuge won. Fade Ricky Fowler in every matchup this week. Andy, it's your favorite one. Your best bet last week, Harold Varner to beat Ricky, came up as well.
Yeah, I did fade him. I haven't been in another matchup. So, yeah, even in last week, that was like a course that probably lined up well for Ricky. That was like a good fit for him, and he still didn't play all that well. So I will be betting him against him a few times this week as well.
There was one other comment came in last week. I can't remember who it was. I'm not sure if it was Jeff, but Matt Wallace. I can't remember who it was. It was a terrific angle. Can you guys remember that one? I looked at the leaderboard. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, Wallace played well. Yeah, he played very well.
Really well. Yeah, absolutely. Best bets. of all of those ones, JD, or there's something else where, what's your best bet this week, man?
Yeah, I'm on Bryson. I just think this is way too good of a golf course for him. I'm not the outright price isn't super exciting, but when you can get some exposure, I had to do a couple weeks ago with Morikawa where he finished, I think, second. I just had every matchup on him. That was how I was able to get my exposure. I'm going to probably do the same thing with Bryson, especially as a full blown dog. To Rahm, who again doesn't really do anything better than he does at this stage of their career. So I don't really understand the number. I'd make Bryson a slight favorite. So I'm gonna ride that one.
Yeah, rare miscut as well for John Rahm last week. Also, by the way, I mentioned Bryson's Texas native. I forgot that he actually isn't from there. He just went to college there.
Yeah,
my bad. It's good to correct yourself later on. Andy, your best bet for this week, man?
Yeah, Bryson over Rahm. I played that as well. I can't pick that one, but I did leave that one for you. I had a bunch I liked. It was hard to take it down to 4, and I do like taking it down to some of these low level ones. But I just wanted to agree with him real quick. It'll be Gooch over Ortiz. I don't. Yeah. Again, that's the biggest edge in my numbers as far as the 4 that I put on here. I don't understand why that's not more like 1.75 or something around there.
Yeah, and just one last comment before we wrap up. Jeff did confirm that it was him. He said, I'll take a victory lap for Mollis minus 110 over Fowler next week. Well, Jeff,
you got our job soon, Jeff. You got to calm down the comments, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. All right, PGA Championship next week. Yeah. I'm thinking we may have a couple of more marquee matchups next week. Yeah. Probably going to be about 300 or 400 matchups at Matchbook. So you guys better get on it and crack it maybe on Sunday night this week. My thanks to James. My thanks to Andy. Absolute pleasure as ever. Go well with your bets. Don't forget the bonus code INSIGHTS if you're signing up at matchbook.com for 0% commission for the first 30 days of your account. Enjoy the golf next week, and we will see you next week for the PGA Championship. Can't wait.